Hey there, Taggers! We're up to some awesome stuff again. I'm Kubi from DTech Design, and today we are gonna talk specifically about the new geometry nodes features Blender 4.5 brings to the table and how they can supercharge our workflows. So, without further ado, let's dive into the updates. Alright, first up, we are going to kick off our review with the new import nodes. In the Add menu, under Input, there's a brand new menu called Import. And these nodes seriously look like they are going to make things very interesting. Now, we'll be able to directly drag and drop files from our folders right into the Geometry Node Editor window to bring in our assets. And, depending on the file type, we'll get mesh, instance, point cloud, volume, and string output. So, without losing any momentum, let's dive into what these actually are. By the way, if you are looking to learn geometry nodes from A to Z, mastering every single node along with practical use cases and pro tips, you should definitely check out our Udemy course. It's packed with enhanced information and awesome graphics. And for you, our amazing YouTube audience, we've prepared a lifetime mega discount. If you want this resource to be a permanent part of your library and add significant value to your career and CV with a lifetime certificate, you can access the course using the discount code or through the link in the video description. Alright, next up, let's talk about CSV, comma-separated value files. These are super common for organizing and storing data in table format. You can think of them like simple spreadsheets, but way lighter, and you can usually even open them with just a basic text editor. Now, this particular node, the import CSV node, gives us a point cloud output. What's cool about this is that each row in your CSV file essentially becomes a point in your 3D scene, and any numerical columns in the file are imported as attributes for those points. The attribute names are even pulled directly from the header row, if you have one of course, and the data types are smartly guessed from the first value in each column. Here's what a very simple CSV file looks like when we import it, and how it appears in the spreadsheet editor. From here, you can use these attribute values however you want in your geometry node setup. Pretty neat, right? And we have the PLY import node. This one is all about bringing in the mesh data from a PLY file. PLY files are pretty common for storing geometry, especially if you are working with 3D scanning or modeling software. What's cool about them is that they can also include extra vertex attributes like colors or normals, which is super handy. When you import a PLY file using this node, all that geometry comes in as a single mesh. So, if you've got some scanned data or models from other programs that include color or normal info, this node is your direct ticket to getting them into Blender's geometry nodes. Now, you might be thinking, what's the big deal with the STL files? But if you've ever dealt with 3D printers, you know STL files are the bread and butter. They are like the language your printer speaks. But until now, getting them into geometry nodes for some procedural magic was a bit of a workaround. Not anymore. This new node lets you directly import mesh geometry from a STL file right into your geometry node setup, and that's a huge deal. Think about it. You've got this cool 3D model you downloaded for printing, or maybe something you designed in a CAD program. Now, you can bring it straight into Blender's geometry nodes. How cool is that? Alright team, next up in our Blender 4.5 tour, we've got another fantastic addition for bringing in external files, the Import OBJ node. Simple yet effective. Now, OBJ files have been around forever, right? They are super common for static 3D assets created in other modeling software. Basically, all those cool models you find or make outside of Blender. Before getting them into geometry nodes and really working with them could be a bit clunky, but this new node changed everything. What it does is load geometry data from an OBJ file, and here's the clever part, it outputs it as instances. Why is that so good? Well, if your OBJ file has multiple objects defined in it, the node brings each one in as a separate instance. This is awesome, because it helps preserve the original scene structure from your OBJ file, and it's also a big win for performance optimization. So, instead of a massive single mesh, you get individual instances that are much more efficient to manipulate and reuse within your geometry node setups. This means you can easily bring in complex scenes or collections of models, then go wild with all the procedural magic Blender offers, without bogging down your system. It's a real game changer for integrating your existing 3D asset libraries into your geometry node workflow. Let's talk about another fantastic addition that's gonna blow your mind, especially if you're into simulations or procedural effects, the import VDB node. Now, you have probably heard of VDB files. They are the go-to for volumetric data, things clouds, smoke, fire, even abstract procedural volumes. Before getting these awesome complex volumetric assets from other software into Blender, especially into geometry nodes, for some real magic could be a bit of headache. This neat node lets you load volumetric data directly from a VDB file and outputs it as volume geometry. And here's the cool part. All grids presents in that VDB file are loaded and included in the resulting volume. That means if your VDB has separate grids for density, temperature, or whatever, Blender brings them all in ready for you to use. This is super useful for importing simulation data you've baked out from other software, or those incredible procedural volumes you've created elsewhere. Imagine bringing in a realistic small simulation and then using geometry nodes to interact with it, add effects, or even convert it to a mesh. The possibilities are insane. It truly bridges up the gap, making your workflow smoother and letting you integrate those amazing external volumetric assets right into your Blender projects with ease. So, get ready to play with some serious volumes. Our next cool feature in Blender 4.5, let's look at something a bit different but super powerful, especially for all you motion graphic wizards and data nerds out there, the import text node. Now, this one is pretty straightforward but incredibly versatile. What it does is simple. It reads the contents of a plain text file, a simple TXT file, and then outputs it as a single string right there in your geometry node setup. You might be thinking, okay, a text file. Why is that exciting? Well, imagine this. You are doing a complex animation where you need to display dynamic text like a countdown, a list of names, or changing statistics. Instead of manually typing it in, you can update a simple text file, and your Blender scene automatically pulls in the latest info. No more reopening Blender and retyping for every small change. Let's keep digging into the awesome text capabilities in Blender 4.5 geometry nodes. This time, we are looking at something incredibly powerful for anyone who wants to create dynamic, data-driven text, the format string node. You know how sometimes you need to combine different pieces of information, like numbers, names, or values from your scene, into one coherent sentence or label. That's exactly what this node is for. Think of it like building a sentence where parts of it are placeholders that get filled in by other data. For example, you might want to display something like object count 15, where 15 is an actual value from your scene that changes. The coolest thing about the format string node is how you tell it what placeholders to use. It uses something called named inputs. It works like this. You type your base text into the string input of the node. When you want to insert a value, you use a placeholder that looks like name in the curly braces. The name part inside the curly braces is super important because it then automatically creates a new input socket on the node with that exact name. So, if you type the value is in curly braces my number into the string, a new input socket called my number will appear on the node. You can then plug any numerical value or even another string into that my number socket, and it will magically appear in your final output string. This is a game changer for motion graphics, dashboards, or any situation where you need dynamic text labels. No more manually updating text every time a value changes. Just hook up your data and the format string node takes care of the rest. It's incredibly flexible and makes creating responsive text super easy in geometry nodes. Let's dive into the examples Blender provides for us and solidify our understanding a bit more. You can stop the video and try the examples on your own. Let's kick things off with the basic example. This one's super straightforward and you'll get it instantly. So, imagine you've got a string and somewhere in that string, you've got these curly braces. What happens is, whatever you put in as the format item, that's your variable, it's just going to magically slot right into where those curly braces are. We can also have a format string that takes multiple variables. In such cases, if the curly braces are empty, the variables will be assigned in order. That means the first variable goes into the first blank, the second variable into the second blank, and so on. If the names of your variables inside the curly braces are defined, like width and height in our example, the names of your variables must match the names within the format string. Otherwise, the node won't work. However, since each variable now has a specific address, their order doesn't matter. Each value will know exactly where it needs to go. If you want to use padded numbers, we can explain it simply like this. For example, in our case, the colon 04 expression within the curly braces ensures the number will be a total of 4 digits long, and any missing digits will be filled with zeros at the beginning. And a huge shout out to all you amazing taggers who stuck around until the very end of the video. You guys are the best, seriously. If you wanna see more content like this, all you got to do is hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'd absolutely love to read your thoughts in the comment section below. Until the next time, hasta luego!